I didn't know what to title this video, so I decided to call it My Crazy Ideas About God. I guess that kind of, I think that encapsulates it. Um, so I'm going to say a lot of ideas in this that I didn't necessarily get from other things. This is just my conception, and it could change, and it has changed a bit. But over the years, I've had this conception, and I haven't shared it very much. So I'm going to use little pieces from other stuff as far as explaining it. But the conception, as far as I know, is my own. Of course, I'm sure that other people have come to this conclusion, and I'm just not aware of it. So, my crazy ideas about God. So, from a very young age, it became obvious to me that I was trying to figure everything out. And that might have colored my conclusions. So let's start with this. So if everything is red, then nothing is red. If there's nothing to hold, if everything, for instance, if everything is God, then God is kind of irrelevant. I'm a big believer that everything's a part of the same thing. I don't have any evidence for that, but I think that everything is a part of this same thing that we can call God. So that's how I can kind of work with different spirits and gods, because everything's a part of the same thing. And while it may seem polytheistic to work with different spirits and gods, it's actually in the context that it's all part of the same God. I like to call it source. I like to think that the material realm is on the far-flung edges of the source, and the closer that we get to the source, things get bigger, including the universes, including dimensions, including souls and their magnification. But I often in my head call God the Grander Computational Force. Now, what do I mean by Grander Computational Force? What I mean is that because everything, it seems like it's trying to figure something out. I don't want to use the word designed, because there's a whole lot of, intelligent design as being proof for God. I don't ascribe to that. I don't think that there's proof in that way. I don't think that there needs to be. And I think a lot of people who try to say that, intelligent design is proof, they're taking the easy way out, and it's really philosophical suicide. You can look up that term. But it seems to me, this is a conclusion that I've drawn, that everything is here to try to figure something out. Life itself is moving in a direction, not just to survive, but to evolve into more intelligent, more efficient forms of itself. And nature did just that until it produced an aspect of itself on this planet that could reflect upon it, that could observe it from an external vantage point instead of it just experiencing itself. I don't think that God is somewhere separate and fostered life on this planet. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think that nature itself is obviously everything's part of God. So nature here eventually was always going to produce a part of itself that could better understand itself. And I think that life fosters this on other planets in a similar way. I think that it follows a similar trajectory. But, other species, becoming more efficient with what they have. The danger is in the resources, and, that's when a little microchip in the galaxy can burn out. But it looks to me like everything is here trying to figure something out, trying to be more efficient and evolve into something that can understand. And we happen to be that species on this planet. Now, taking that everything is trying to figure something out. I think it's trying to figure everything out, but something. I don't know what everything is trying to figure out per se, but it feels like everything is trying to figure something out, and that everything is aligned to this purpose. So think of Earth. Once again, these are just my ideas. Take it with a grain of salt, because I don't really know anything. Think of this Earth as, a processor, and we're all little pieces of energy working in the conduits, or little pieces of a microchip, however you want to look at it. But it's like the human race in conjunction with nature because we are an extension of it, yet something that can understand it from an external vantage point. This whole planet's like a processor. It's like a computer processor that's trying to run data and calculate, figure something out. And I think that life pops up on other planets because it will inevitably do so, to do the same thing, and more processors are formed. I think that elements, matter, and energy eventually birth life, nature, and then nature eventually births intelligent species for this purpose. So God, we can think of Godhead. Godhead is something that we see in Eastern traditions as well as some Western, but I'm more familiar with the Eastern, so I don't know which is first. I think it's Eastern, but I could be wrong. Godhead, source. So the grander so everything is like everything in the material universes and the dimensions and the various planes of existence. Those are all computational forces, composed of various computational forces. The grander computational force is what I think of as like a godhead. Vishnu and Krishna. Vishnu is often worshipped as a godhead by Hare Krishna, and Krishna is the avatar, Godhead's microscope representative on this earth. I believe in many avatars, not just Krishna. And I wouldn't necessarily call Vishnu Godhead. I'm not a Vaishnavite, but at any rate, the grander computational force in my head is Godhead. And it may seem very cold, and it may seem very strange, and it seems absent of warmth, but it feels right to both the logical side of my brain as well as what I feel in my heart. And those are always at war because my brain is naturally logical. My heart feels so much. I feel so much, and it's overwhelming sometimes. But the grander computational force is what we are contacting, what we are worshiping through various gods, or sections of this force through various gods or different spirits. But when we are praying, chanting, doing mantras, it's almost like we are reaching out to that grander computational force for an uplink in a way, and kind of downloading a higher level of consciousness and experience. We as individuals, even as human beings, are very intelligent compared to other species on this planet. Probably not compared to others. We're still kind of in an animal phase, and we won't really understand how we can get out of this animal phase until we evolve more spiritually and physically. There's plenty of yogis and sages who have hinted at this knowledge, if not directly given it, but we're still very much animals. We're not logical. We have a lot of doublethink. All my examples of doublethink will color the politics of this video, which I don't care to do, but so as little pieces of the grander computational force, we all have a specific part to play. We're all a different kind of processor. There's a lot of people that are similar, but every single life is an entirely unique little energy bit or little part of the microchip that is this planet. Little tiny processor that's figuring something out with its own little section of the grander computational force, giving it life and giving it a core to its consciousness. The electricity through the chip, if you will. I don't believe anything is lost. I don't believe any information is lost or destroyed. And even if the little bits that we're, the little processors that we are, even if we fail, something is learned. And something is figured out. And there is our grander computational force as a whole is aided in its journey to figure out whatever it's trying to figure out. I don't know what it's trying to figure out. It just seems that everything is trying to figure out something. And the grander computational force, Godhead, source, that's what I think is kind of at the head. It's almost like it's trying to figure itself out. So the little bits of processor that we don't have a set destiny. We figure out, we process in whatever way we choose. And whatever way we choose explores a new pathway, a new option, a new possibility. That's why you have, I think, reincarnation, different births, because the possibilities and the avenues for discovery become more and more numerous as life goes on. Um, we're so small and obscure, and we don't matter. But if if nothing matters, then everything matters. And if everything matters, then nothing matters. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but every single piece has to matter if for anything to make sense. Not just in my philosophy or what I'm laying out here, but every little piece has to matter. Every little piece has to be relevant, and I think we are, even if we don't feel like we are. I think that despite how similar people are, we are incredibly unique for a reason. And I think that if we try our best to figure out everything and to figure out our particular circumstances and use a very not discriminating, use a very contemplative, there we go, that's a word, mirror for our circumstances and for what we're thinking about and for our inner nature, we can see our soul in essence. We can see that smaller piece, that smaller processing power. Through contemplation and through reaching out to the grander computational force, I think we can form a mirror for our soul and understand what our purpose is. And even though our purpose might be small, every little purpose attributes to the grander purpose, to the grander computational force. So everyone is important. Everyone matters, even if we don't feel like it. I've often thought of writing a book about the grander computational force and coming up with some tenets and some chants and prayers and maybe even a language, but too much of it feels like guesswork and too much of it might become fantasy. But that's another thing. So I think that we tell stories because that's an expression of what's trying to be figured out, about love, about destiny, about anything. We tell stories because that aids us in figuring things out. Even fictional stories can add to processing power. That's why we're storied beings. We love stories. And they matter because they help us understand. And understanding doesn't just come through contemplation. It also comes through feeling. That's another form of computation. You can call it the female side of this grander computational force. Not because feeling is female, but when we're thinking about gods, I'm thinking about Ma Kali and Shiva. Ma Kali is very much the feeling compassion. Shiva is very much the logistical, logical, calculating, I suppose. I'm using Eastern. I'm not using like gender necessarily. It's like Sophia is wisdom, often described as Jesus' sister for the Gnostics because she's the wisdom. She's a feeling combined with the concept of God that is Jesus. Anyway, we tell stories in order to aid that force, and I don't think, because we are so flawed, we're not yet completely effective processors. Our senses are flawed. A lot of the stories become true because we make them true. Through contemplating them, through asserting them, through believing them, we make the stories true. But stories nothing is true separate from our understanding and our belief in it. In a way, this is how gods and spirits are born and how religions and spiritualities are born. Because if enough people believe something, you can call it creating an egregor. But I think everything's an egregor. I don't think anything exists outside of our conception of it. It's almost like we're making reality because we're both the magician. We are both the summoner and what is summoned. Now we have to be careful in this application. That doesn't mean that, I can believe I can hurt anybody I want. I keep on doing that. That's going to activate other parts of the other processors to purge the processor that I am so that they can continue on their mission. And they can keep on dreaming. They can keep on imagining their reality to existence. So in its practical application, we have to be careful, just like honestly, with a lot in religion and spirituality. But I think that we can believe whatever we want to believe, and it can be real. And I think it's real because we are computing and making reality at the same time, all to understand something. And I think all the understandings of the little somethings attribute to a grander something, whatever that is that we're trying to understand. Hindus say that, create everything exists because it's God trying to figure himself out. I think that that's true, but it's hard to understand and see on a grander scale because we're so small and we don't understand very much, and we don't have as much computing power as we could. That's why we reach out to the Grander Computational Force. So I think that whatever you believe is valid, and we have to believe things so that they can become. And you don't have to believe what somebody else believes. You don't have to believe what I believe, for sure, but you don't have to believe what somebody else believes. You can believe what you believe, and it's real to you. And if it's real to you, and we're a part of the Grander Computational Force, then it's real. At any rate, I think I've gone on for long enough. These are my crazy ideas about God, and hopefully there was a little hope in there for you and your beliefs. That wasn't necessarily my intention, but I usually come to a more hopeful message because when I start working everything out, there's so many possibilities. And I think that's wonderful, and we can realize that in our own lives. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. Please hit that thumbs up. Give me a like on this video if you liked it at all. If you found it interesting, feel free to share this video wherever you like, as long as you give me credit, which would be hard not to do because I'm not you. But, and feel free to become a patron on Patreon at patreon.com/darkrealist, capital D, capital R. Once again, patreon.com/darkrealist, capital D, capital R. Go there. You can find all my YouTube videos, my podcasts, things that I write, and ritual journal entries that I only share there, all in one place, for as little as $1 a month. If you want to give me more, that'd be great. And feel free to give me more so that you can help out my little bit of the Grander Computational Force. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and all of you, have a wonderful day.